Joining us now is Gary Byler. He is the chairman of the 2nd Congressional District for the Republican Party of Virginia. He's also a candidate for the Republican nomination for the 85th House of Delegates district seat. He is locked in a tight battle with Scott Taylor, former Navy SEAL, former candidate for Congress in 2010. And Scott Taylor now has made a number of accusations concerning the Byler campaign. So we wanted to go straight to the top. Gary Byler, great to have you with us.
Good morning, John. Glad to be with you this morning.
Okay, now we've got all sorts of mudslinging here. We had Scott Taylor on our show on Monday, and basically what he has accused your campaign of, very simply, is number one, doctoring a number of Facebook emails that he said that somebody in your campaign basically made them up and then sent them to the press trying to get some traction out of it. Now, of course, he's denied it all, and he was saying that he's done his work and he's tracing it all back to your campaign consultant and I guess your creative designer, Jerry Skameka. What do you make of this whole thing, Gary?
Well, it's 100% false and just absolutely silly, John. And let me correct you. I hate to correct you on your own show, but to say this is a tight battle is a joke. It's a runaway, and the man has no money, no momentum, no support. So this is what he really turns to. Yesterday when I spoke with you, you said, well, he's a serious man, and I kind of chuckled. I've been doing this for 35 years, since the Reagan-Ford battle in 76 at the National Convention, the Open Chain campaign, Dalton. I've been literally over 100 campaigns and never had a single accusation like this. Scott Taylor has been in 3 campaigns in 5 years, and every one of them has drama. The last time he took Scott Ridgel's 12-point plan, and to this day denies that he took it, even though the 12 points are identical and were found on his website. Hey, listen, John, I am happy to respond to these charges, but I'm not really sure what they are because they keep changing. At one point, he said that I, Gary Byler, forged the document on Facebook. I hate to say, but I need my staff assistants, my legal secretaries, to get me on Facebook because it's not something I do. So the idea that I would forge something is absolutely silly. Number two, he says he's got some proof. I don't know what it is. Let me tell you what I do know. This sword material came to all the campaign's attention, at least I think Jeremy Waters, Bill Dale, the Democrat, and the other Republican. And I immediately said, hey, I don't even want to look at it, guys. And in fact, I hadn't looked at it. It was, as a courtesy to Scott, turned over to other party leadership. And my understanding now, putting this together, is the Virginia Beach City chairman and a representative from Ridgel's office to simply give Scott the courtesy of seeing what was out there. It was shown to him. He said it wasn't true. Dropped the issue, never said anything about it again. That was 5 or 6 weeks ago. And since then, I have put out mailers. We've done robocalls. We're planning for our visit with the governor. We've gone door to door. Not once have we mentioned Scott Taylor. And, of course, there's a reason for that, and you've done a little politics, and that is when your opponent has no positive name ID, the last thing I want to do is talk about my opponent. I've lived in this area pretty much my whole life. My name ID and my reputation in the community are well stated, and the last thing I need to be doing is to engaging Scott Taylor in any sort of a campaign. So, in short, not only is it's false, it's really sad. And as I tried to get ready for this morning, it's kind of incoherent. Did I forge the document? And I guess a simple way to put the end to this is, John, has somebody talked to this woman? Because I've never met her, and I think if somebody talked to the woman, she'd tell you she never met me or these other folks that Scott's talking about. The other thing, which I'm told, but I don't know because I'm not a Facebook specialist, but that if someone were to look at his extended archive, is that the term?
Yes.
But while he's offered to turn them over, I've yet to see anybody actually have access to it. So I don't know the reality of this. I know it's why a lot of people hate politics, but it would be the height of silliness for us to be involved, and I'm simply not. And a 35-year history in politics goes to show that.
So, Gary, let's bottom line this. Are you basically denying all of the allegations from Scott Taylor that someone on your staff, notably Jerry Skimeka, doctored this Facebook thing, made it up, and then sent it out to the press with or without your knowledge? Are you completely denying that?
Yeah, that's 100% false, that anybody that I know of doctored anything. And I'm not sure that these things are doctored because I really don't know. I can tell you that originally his complaint was that I forged them. I guess he's off of that, and now he's saying somebody who has consulted for me has, and I don't believe that either. The most recent version of the story is that somebody in Hampton or Newport News is the one that actually did it and then forwarded it. Now, I guess, if anything, when they came to our possession, I guess we could have burned them. Decision was made that Scott should have a chance to, one, have the courtesy to know this was out there, and two, respond. And that happened 5 or 6 weeks ago. So it is true that when it came to our attention, as the other campaigns had it, and we realized it was out there, through the appropriate channels, we let Scott be aware of it. When he denied it, we dropped it. And that was, I think, 5 or 6 weeks ago, John. And we have not mentioned it since. So why 5 weeks later does he go with this sad story run into the paper without absolutely any evidence? And the answer is, for any of your listeners, just go to VPAP, the Virginia Public Access Project, and you'll have your answer there. Over the last 3-month reporting period, and I don't usually talk details, but your listeners are politically savvy, and this charge has been raised, so I'm going to break form and talk a little politics. If you go on the Virginia Public Access Project, you'll see that I've outraised all of my opponents, probably outraised Scott about 2-1 at this point.
Right.
He raised barely enough to cover his 2 consultants the last 3 months. So if you don't have money for mail, you don't have money for 4x8 signs, you have no volunteer corps, and what you have are overpaid consultants, what you get for a campaign is 2 consultants sitting around a table saying, how are we going to bring Gary down? It really is alternately funny and humorous, but it's absolutely false that me or my campaign forged anything. I'm still ready for the absolute first piece of evidence. I wish somebody would talk to this woman, and I think that would solve the problem. And, John, I understand that he may have offered you his fully extended, non-erasable Facebook archive. So I hope that you or one of your folks take him up on that.
Well, we will. And so what you're saying, Gary, if I understand it, is, in your judgment, the Scott Taylor campaign, this is kind of a Machiavellian attempt in order to create something that was not there, blame the Byler campaign so they could get in the news. Is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely, 100%. Had you heard this story? Had anybody heard this story before Scott Taylor went whining to the Virginian pilot saying, 5 or 6 weeks ago, false allegations surfaced against me? Hey, I don't know if they're false or not. And I don't care whether they're false or not. I'm interested in my campaign and moving forward. But, again, when this stuff surfaced 5 or 6 weeks ago, it was taken to the party authorities. They showed Scott. He said it wasn't true, and not a word had been said about it in 6 weeks until he goes to the paper. This is obviously a move of a desperate campaign or people who think they're too clever by half. Unfortunately, it's a pattern with Scott. And if you look at the man will run for any office at any time and say pretty much anything. He's done a complete 180 on his position on light rail. He ran for mayor being in favor of light rail. We go to the Tea Party, he's against it. He's just all over the park. One thing, I didn't get to meet with President Reagan every day when I worked in the White House, but one thing I'll never forget hearing in that White House is, beware the man who will run for any office at any time and say anything. And I think that's pretty much the situation we've got here. In fact, I think Scott has made no secret of it, that he has to be elected to an office and that he will continue. Dude, make up your mind. You want to be a congressman? You want to be a mayor? They're completely different jobs than being in the House of Delegates. For myself, I wouldn't take those other 2 jobs. The House of Delegates is something I think I'm well suited for. It allows me to continue my law practice and continue on as party chairman and still serve the citizens of the 85th District. And let me tell you, since this nonsense came out in the paper, I have spoken literally to over 100 folks. A lot of ordinary citizens and some party leaders, the city treasurer called yesterday and insisted on giving a $250 personal check. John Atkinson is an institution down here. He was the first Republican constitutional officer elected in 1981. Never taken a penny in campaign contributions, by the way. So I was going to comp him to the event with the governor. No, Gary, I want to insist on giving you the money. What I hear from the 80 to 100 people I've spoken to is one of two reactions to those who heard it. One is just flat out laughter, which is, boy, that guy's quite a piece of work. And the other comment is, boy, he must be desperate. I literally have not had a single supporter call being concerned about me, and that's very gratifying. I think it speaks to a reputation built up over 35 years. But the Commonwealth Attorney, the sheriff, the clerk of court, the treasurer, the incumbent delegate, the governor. More important to me, as important to me, are the movement conservatives: Richard Viguerie, Morton Blackwell, Kevin Gentry, Kate Openchain, Dr. Pat Robertson have all given personal money and/or endorsements supporting me. And it's funny because when I ran for party chairman, it was exactly the opposite: no endorsements at all. I rely on my grassroots, my friends in the Rand Paul efforts, and the folks that I have known for the 55 years I've lived here in the district. And, I won 2-1 when I ran for party chairman, and there's a reason for that. I've lived here my whole life. People know who I am. People know what I stand for, and they are supporting me. What I get mostly is, Gary, why'd you wait so long to run? And I never really thought I would run, John. But my kids are going away to college, and before I see somebody move into the district 4 or 5 months before the filing, just because he's got to be elected to office. No, at that point, I listened to the sheriff and the others who asked me to run and agreed to run. So, again, this is silly. This is not something I have to have, but apparently it's something that Scott Taylor cannot live without, and he will go to any lengths. But again, it's just a replay of his previous campaigns. And
so Gary,
people who live here in the second district people who live here in the second district think it's either laughable or sad.
So, Gary, it sounds like what you're saying, in your view, Scott Taylor is a perennial candidate in search of an office.
Couldn't put it better myself, John, and I think the record speaks to that. 35 years of serving the conservative movement, I've never once run for an office other than a party office to make sure we're nominating the right folks. And in 5 years of living in the district, he's run to 3 offices. So, and I think if you go on his site, you'll see his quotes about "I've got to be elected to something." I mean, there's no secret about that. And the comments that followed him on his post story, I think, were very revealing. I can't speak to the accuracy of those statements, but they were quite virulent from former military colleagues as well as former political colleagues as to Scott Taylor's reputation for veracity and seriousness. He really isn't a serious candidate, and one thing I do know is there's no tight battle here whatsoever. If this was a tight battle, he'd be talking about the issues instead of trying to throw a Hail Mary pass, which, again, has fallen 30 yards short of the receiver, if I could push the analogy.
sounds like my football team, the Tennessee Titans. That's a normal one of their offensive plays lately. Okay, Gary, unfortunately we're out of time now. I promised you when we talked that we were going to get into the issues. We don't have time because we had to get this whole thing flushed out, but I am going to make you and Scott my commitment. We're going to have you on so that we can talk about transportation and some other issues that are a lot more pressing.
You do a great job. I'll just leave you with this thought. I've got the accounting degree from Georgetown, a law degree from UVA. Budgeting is about priorities. I have 3: transportation, education, public safety, and almost nothing else. So I look forward to getting into that with you. And, John, thank you all you do for the movement. It means a lot to us down here in Hampton Roads.
Okay, Gary, we appreciate it. Before we sign off, for anyone that's interested in your campaign or getting more involved, where do they go? What do they do?
BylerForDelegate.com. My personal cell is 757-619-4345. People can call me anytime with questions about religion, politics, philosophy, or heaven forbid if they get hit by a car. Thank you, John. People, I'm accessible 24/7.
Okay, well, I've got your cell, so if I ever get stuck in the Hampton Roads area, Gary, you're going to be the first person that I call. Thank you for joining us. This is